You guys, this is like the third time I'm making this video, but I'm on a roll and I'm gonna do it. The kids, this is why I don't do videos in the house. This is why I don't do videos in the house. I can't tell y'all the amount of times I shut that door and the kids go, I don't want to watch this. I want to watch that. Okay, all right. All right, let me get back to it. All right, so the video I was trying to make was one discussing the microbiome and the microbiome testing. I had touched on it in the last video, and so I just want to elaborate just to a small degree in this video. Okay, what do I want to say about it? All right, and why do I even have anything to say about it? Okay, now I have to take you guys on my bouncing ball here, because the way I look at it is as a former pathology manager. Okay, I used to manage a histology lab, cytotech lab, molecular lab, and a Mohs lab. Okay, different and multiple labs at once. Okay, different locations. We had different locations. Anyhow, I look at it from that perspective. You guys are not going to look at it from that perspective because you don't have that perspective, but I do, and I'm looking at it from that perspective. All right, and there's a couple things that you guys are not thinking about when you hear about these testings that are so great that you need to do so that you can figure out your microbiome health, which I am saying is completely unnecessary. If you want to do it and have fun at it, I'm not saying you don't have to do it, but here are some things that this is what I see with my eye when I hear about microbiome testing. When I was in the lab, coming up with new tests for the same shit was a thing. Okay, you have to understand that this is an industry. Okay, this is an industry, and they were always trying to come up with. I shouldn't try to separate I was in that too. Okay, I know. We were always trying to find this is how you made money. This is how you generated revenue. This is a business. I want you guys to understand this. This is a business. Don't ever get that twisted. It is a business. I had to figure out ways to generate revenue. And the way we did it, the way you do it in that industry, is to come up with new testing, okay? When I was leaving, it was a concern, things were becoming a concern because, diagnostic coding, charging, billing was becoming, they were getting more of a pain in the ass with that, and so you had to find basically what I'm saying all this to say that you guys are a new emerging market to them. The retail market is a new emerging market to the lab industry. Prior to that, it was on the medical side. You had to go to your doctor. Your doctor had to order the test. Your doctor made money for examining you before he ordered the test. He made money for ordering the test. Whoever collected the specimen, there's a collecting specimen fee. They made money for that. Whoever handled and transported the specimen, they made money for that. Then the lab makes money for accessioning the specimen, and then we make money for. You understand? There's a gravy train here. I'm telling you, everybody's making money along the way, okay? And now what they're doing is hold up. We can market directly to the public, and they can just, you guys are emerging market. That's what this is. I clearly remember this when I was leaving the industry, because there was a lot of there was some concerns, especially among the clinicians, because now you guys are going to be ordering testing directly, and what do they do with the information, sort of type of thing. Anyhow, you guys are a market. This is an industry. You're not special. You're only special in as much as they can convince you to spend your money and order the testing. All right? And in addition to getting that test, they're going to make recommendations. And their recommendations are always going to be some shit that they're selling. You see what I'm saying about the kids always interrupting my video? There's a chocolate croissant. That's... Huh? Okay, thank you. Anywho. The car. Anyhow, you guys are an emerging market, okay? And they see you as such. The other thing that needs to be considered is what happens to the data. Everybody's crying like somebody's dead. Don't pay them any mind, y'all. Nothing's wrong. She just wants to watch something else on the TV, and so she's hollering like there's a fire in the house, but there isn't. Anywho, what happens to the data? What happens to the biological material that you sent them? Who owns it? The concept of property in the United States is a very big thing. Who owns that property? Whose property is it now? I could tell you, right now that if I got a specimen in the lab, this is when I was in New York. If I got a specimen in that lab, and you wanted to come in, you couldn't just come and ask me for your specimen. I think you're gonna get it. Nope. Not gonna happen. We got to go through some things, and I'm not giving it to you because I can't give it to you. I have to turn it over to another lab. Okay. So, and there's got to be all kinds of documents that are signed and whatnot. But I'm saying this to say that nobody's actually thinking about that piece of it too, is what's happening to the actual material and what's happening to the data, your results. You don't own the results either, just so you know. They do. Think concept of property. The concept of property in the US is a very big deal, and people are not thinking about that part of it too. I do. When I was in the lab, that was a big deal. Okay. You know, I remember when a poor couple, where people would have miscarriages, and they would want to take they wouldn't want the specimen, I have to call it a specimen because technically when it comes to the lab it's a specimen, they wouldn't want it to be examined because they wanted to bury it or do whatever their conscience told them that they should be doing with it, and they couldn't just come and get it. They can't. I would have to, by New York state law, I would have to turn it over to a funeral director. So I couldn't even give it to the parents. I have to turn it over to somebody else that's licensed. You see, you understand what I'm trying to say? Is that it's not yours anymore once you give it up. And what are they doing with it once you give it up? This is another thing. Think of 23andMe. Think of data mining. We're in the age of data mining. Okay, so you have to think about it from that perspective. That's all I'm gonna say about that. Okay, is there are other things going on when it comes to the retail market and lab testing. Another thing too is I kind of have to think twice before I say this, because you don't want to give the impression that people shouldn't be responsible for their health and people shouldn't take health into their own hands, because you should, but you still need to be wary of thinking that you're going to do it through testing, because coming from that world, I can tell you it's very limited. It's limited. You understand? You can only do but so much with it. And a lot of people don't even have the background to understand what the results really mean. Okay, so you are still relying on somebody else's interpretation of that testing anyways. Okay, so you take this microbiome testing, but what determines if you're healthy or not? What's the marker? How are they figuring out the marker? Are they doing this geographically? Are they saying what optimal gut health are they using to say this is the control, this is the standard? Where are they figuring this out from? And are they taking into account different regions? Okay, lineage, black, white, Asian, whatever. Are they taking these things into account? And if so, how much? To what degree? You see what I'm saying? Because they're grading this. There's a grading system. There has to be a grading system. Okay, what is the grading system based on, and how are they coming up with this to determine if you have good gut health or not? What are we doing here? This is what I'm trying to say. So, and even then, I still caution you. Okay, I still do caution you, because I remember just a story on using test results to decide what's healthy or not. Okay, back in the day, they used to there was something called SIDS. It still exists, sudden infant death syndrome. All right, and it was believed at one point that what was causing SIDS was an enlarged thyroid. They felt like, okay, so you put the baby down to sleep. This was happening amongst babies, okay? You put the baby down to sleep, and maybe the thyroid is enlarged, or it's too big, and so it's cutting off their breathing, and so that's what's causing sudden infant death syndrome. And so to counteract this, what they would do is they would irradiate the thyroid. Yeah, they use radiation on these babies' thyroids, and mothers lined up, and they preemptively, in order to prevent sudden infant death syndrome, you would bring your baby in and have radiation on the thyroid. Just the sound of this now in 2023, it sounds ridiculous, right? You can't believe that this was done, but this was done. This was what was considered normal. And do you know why they thought this was the case? It was because they thought what happened was they had established the baseline for what a normal thyroid was considered, the size of a normal thyroid, was based on what doctors had looked at in cadavers, okay? And so, a cadaver is a dead body that doctors use in their medical education they cut it up, they look at it. This is how we learn about anatomy and physiology, okay? Was they used cadavers to do this, okay? So this is what a cadaver is. All right, and so doctors, based on their study of cadavers, decided that, okay, this is the size of a normal thyroid, and in these infants, we see that it's bigger, and so this must be the problem. All right, so that's where they got their baseline from. Do you know what type of cadavers they were looking at? They were looking at, okay, so back then there wasn't a proper cadaver system in the U.S. medical educational field. This was a new emerging medicine, is new, and is a new thing. This is not a thousands years thing. Current medicine that I'm talking about. All right, so at that time they didn't really have a lot of cadavers available. So what they used to do was they used to grave rob. They would grave rob. They would take homeless people. Okay, sometimes they would kill them. Or they would take dead homeless people. They would get disenfranchised people who died and didn't have anybody to bury them. And so they would examine these bodies, okay? And they were using these distressed individuals, okay, homeless people, disenfranchised people. They were using these distressed individuals, looking at their bodies and using them as the baseline. It wasn't until later they realized, holy crap, the thyroids that we were looking at in these people were stressed out thyroids. They were undernourished, underdeveloped, and that's why we thought, and so that it was smaller than what a regular thyroid in a healthy person should look like. So they would look at the healthy thyroid and think, oh my God, it's too big, because their perspective was that diseased thyroid is what's normal, and they determine that as the baseline. Do you understand where I'm telling you why I'm even bringing up the story? Is you got to be careful about what people are thinking is normal and what people establish as the baseline. Perspective is a hell of a thing. Okay? Many women line their babies up, loving mothers, thinking they were doing the best for their kiddos, because who wants to experience sudden infant death? Who wants to? Nobody wants to experience that. And so your doctor says, hey, based on what we know, this thyroid is too big. We got to find a way to shrink it. Bring your baby in. We'll irradiate their thyroid. And that's what they did, because they had a erroneous concept of what a healthy thyroid looks like, because what they were looking at wasn't healthy, and they had no idea. They had nothing to compare it to. It wasn't until years and years after that they realized that, oh wow, we had this thing wrong. All right, so just be wary of basing your health around the concept of testing. Testing serves a purpose. I agree. I get it. I'm not saying it doesn't, but just be wary of the concept of basing your health around testing. Be wary of basing your health around the concept of studies, okay? And focus more on life and what life is showing you, okay? Because life is the real science here, all right? Anyhow, I gotta go. I don't know if y'all could hear that screaming and crying in the background. but I got to go. Bye.